And welcome back to Love Your Food. After last week's recipe of the samosa skins, this week is for the whole samosa. Now before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that we have an affiliate link with Chef's Temp. If you need a kitchen thermometer or meat probe, please check out the link in the description below and use code LOVEYOURFOOD on checkout for 15% off your order. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us there and help keep the lights on. You can support us there, I'll put a link in the description below, and now our ingredients. So we've got some potatoes, some ginger, a dried pepper, some curry powder, whatever your favorite curry powder is, some turmeric, some coriander, some cumin, some hot sauce, some parsley or coriander, some peas, and our dough from last week. So the first thing we're going to do is boil our potatoes. Now, we got some baking potatoes. You want something that's kind of starchy. And once they are nice and tender, we're going to take those out. And you just want to make sure that they're, tender, fork tender. And we're going to take those out and let them dry a little bit. You don't want too much extra liquid inside your samosa. So we're going to let those dry out a little bit. You can see there, just going to drain them off, and we're just going to let them rest on a towel for a little while. Meanwhile, we're going to get our spice mix ready. So in goes the dried chili pepper, the cumin, and the coriander. The turmeric we're going to use a microplane grater on, and we're just going to grate a bunch of that. But we're also going to toast our spices a little bit. So a little bit of oil into a small pan. We're going to do this on our induction range here. And we're going to toss in the ground pepper. So this is the hot pepper, the chili pepper, the coriander, and the cumin that we just threw into the spice grinder. And we're going to grind it we're going to toast it in the oil after it was ground. And you can see there, it's just getting a little bit warm in there. There's one larger chunk of the hot pepper, that's fine. So while that's starting to heat up, we're just going to pierce the outside of the potato skins. We're going to leave the potato skins on. Now, I think traditionally they are taken out. They're peeled before this part, but we're going to leave them in because we like the flavor and there's a lot of nutrients in there. So there you can see those are starting to foam a little bit, so they're toasting up nicely. Meanwhile, we're just going to pull the potatoes apart. You can see we're making sure there's no big chunks of skin in there, but you also just want to make sure that your potato is broken up into pretty small pieces. You can also cube your potato, whatever you prefer. This worked really well for our recipe. So here's the turmeric. So again, we used a microplane grater for that. So that's going to go in with our potato. And then on top of that is going to be the curry powder. And that can be any kind of garam masala mix that you prefer. In goes our hot sauce. This is one of our homemade fermented hot pepper relishes. You can use whatever you prefer once again. In goes the peas. Those were frozen peas. We just microwaved them for a little while. And then in goes the oil with the toasted spice. You can also add the turmeric into the oil that you're toasting your spices with, whatever you prefer. And we're just going to mix all of this together. And this is going to be the filling for our samosas. We're also going to add in our ginger. So we've peeled it, and we're just going to cut it into pretty small pieces. You don't want a big, woody chunk of ginger in your samosa. So we're going to chop this pretty finely. And once that's at a size you prefer, that's going to go into our bowl with the rest of our ingredients. And then everything is going to get stirred together. So we're just going to mix everything together until it's well combined. And we actually want this to sit overnight. So we're just going to put this together and put it in the fridge. So you can see here it's all well combined now. And we just want everything to sort of relax. We want the starches in the potato to sort of coalesce back together. And we're just going to make sure that it's all well combined, and that's going to go in the fridge. Now, we didn't add our leafy greens yet. That's going to go in just before we fry them. So next day, we've got our dough out of the fridge. We've got our filling out of the fridge, and we're going to roll out our dough. So as we showed you in the video last week about the samosa skins, super easy dough to work with. You may need to let it rest while you're rolling it out. If you find that it's getting a little too springy, or you find that it's starting to spring back too much, just let it rest for a little while. But once you've got it rolled out, now you can chop up your cilantro. And this is just going to go into your mix. You don't want it to be super tiny. It's nice to have that little fleck of green in there with the peas and the potatoes and everything. So we're just going to add those in. and stir that until it's, again, well combined. It's a little stiffer today because it sat overnight and, everything's sort of had a chance to come together. And there we go. So it's now all mixed together. And that oil is that we added, the spicy oil that we added earlier, is going to help everything, stay moist in there as well. And then we're going to take our skins and start to assemble them. Now, it's quite easy with a little bit of water to get these to stick together. So a little bit of water on your fingertip, and you just want to stick the seams together. And you want to make sure that that all the seams are sealed. You want to make sure there's no openings or anything, because filling will get out and oil will get in. You don't want any of that to happen. Now you kind of make a cup with your hand, and let the cone of the samosa fill your hand. And these skins are quite tough. They're honestly very, very stretchy, and they don't break very easily. So you do have a lot of room to stretch these around a fair amount of filling, so you can make a good full samosa. You want to make sure that you're pinching as much air out as you can when you seal it, again with a little bit of water. But you have a lot of space in there. These will hold a great deal of filling. And then we're just going to fold those over once again, just sort of to double check that everything's sealed nicely. And, just keep going until you've made as many samosas as you want. So once everything's nicely sealed and everything, you've made sure there's no cracks or little holes or anything for oil to get in or anything to get out, we're just going to put these into our deep fryer. And if you don't have a deep fryer, you can do these in a stock pot, or actually a Dutch oven is probably better. And you'll see the skins start to bubble really, really nicely. And these skins are so excellent. They make this beautiful, crispy outside. You do need to flip them over, and sometimes it's a bit of a challenge when they get those big bubbles on the outside, like that. But they will flip over, and if you have to hold them over a little bit, that's fine. Once they're done, pull them out of the oil and let them drain a little bit. If you want to give them a little sprinkle of salt in the end, you can do that as well, but they're not really necessary. They're well seasoned inside. And that's how they look. They are absolutely delicious. Super, super easy to do, honestly. Just, you have to start the day before. Next week, we're going to show you the recipe for that tamarind chutney as well. And that's it. That's the whole thing. Really delicious. We were surprised at how amazing that dough was to work with. And the filling, honestly, was super easy to work with, too. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. We'd like to thank our patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to support us there, I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. And remember to love your food.